Sup Shredders, my name is Logan aka Spiderhands and welcome to an SP Reviews where today we have ourselves a track from an act named Omar Bowing or Bowing, I think I'm gonna go with Bowing, titled Woman. And if we switch over to here, we have ourselves the track on the screen. It's titled Woman, and apparently this was released on March 8th for International Women's Day. So that's really cool. So we're gonna listen through this instrumental track from start to finish and we're gonna hear what we think. Let's go. I'm liking the sound of the woodwinds with the strings. You are the perfect creation. You are the light of the world. The light of the world. That's fantastic. The strings continuing with the guitars, the bass, and the drums. It's a great combination of elements, you know? The brass is uplifting. I'm actually kind of blown away by the woodwinds. Are they being recorded and performed by different musicians? Like, how many musicians are involved in this? For the clarinet or the oboe to be syncing up with the guitar like that is wonderful. The epic sound of the chorus. This choir. Huge. Phenomenal switching with the different motifs here. Lots of dynamic range to it as well. And again, I like the bop 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 bop, the staccatos there and the transcription, you know. They're dope. What I liked about that is they instantiated that woodwind motif, and then they had that overdubbing, the double tracking of that later on with the part on the other similar instrument on the other side there to kind of reinforce that, but that dissension there, you know. Really pretty somber harmony overall there. Lots of change in there with interesting sort of 16th note offbeat grooves occasionally though with the, you know, the one and oh, it's a triplet. Triplets on those rides, okay. It's almost theatrical and dramatic, isn't it? It's great to hear such range here where you don't have a dependence on the guitar or the bass or the drums or anything. There's a crutch for the groove here. We have them to add extra intensity to the overall tone of it, but we're happy to play these notes here and have a more classical kind of foundation for other bits as well. There's lots of tonal diversity within it. Is that a guitar effect? Like incredibly... We really don't like to sit on a concept for too long, do we? The thing that's coming to my mind is, what does this have to do with woman? Like, why is this theme... Because this sounds like a triumphant battle theme, or like we're overcoming adversity. I suppose that's to mimic what women have had to go through in order to get to the position they are in today and their standing in society, alongside what more women have to do in order to continue to have like an equal stature to men in certain situations. From like a societal, cultural expectation, I don't think that women are inferior to men. I think the whole difference in how women and men are perceived. I don't buy. I don't. How do I say it without sounding like an absolute twat? Put it this way: I don't understand why women are paid on average less than men. You know. I love how the guitar soars over the top of the choir, which was teased before. Some pentatonic and blues shifts there. Great shift there with those 16ths inside the triplo groove. It's 1, 2, is it 3, 4 actually? 1 and 2 and 3. It could be, I think it might be 3, 4 actually. Never mind, it could be 3, 4 times signature. They've really left it open for the choir to come into this bigger part, you know? And bringing it out again, playing with expectations of the listener. I think it was spectacularly composed, because this is the conclusion of my review of Woman by Omar Bowing. You know what I think this track is about? I think this track is about the trials and tribulations that women have gone through. And I've just realized as well that the image is like a gong that's hit throughout the performance at certain points to accent. It's meant to basically instantiate that this is the time for women to sort of like either rise up or like kind of have themselves be heard and noticed and accepted. I think that's a wonderful thing. Clearly, you know, we have a musician, a composer who cares about this, you know. They clearly care about the fact that women need this day of the year, and I think that I don't know what else it would indicate. Because the theme outside it, like, don't get me wrong, the song was incredibly well written. I think that in order to be able to find a consistency, a coherency amongst the different elements of the mix on its own is something to sort of be proud of. And, you know, that's a badge of honor, basically, be able to combine those classical elements with the rock parts as well. It requires a fundamental understanding of music theory and composition to be able to do that, as well as just like a general indication of how to intertwine them. We didn't stick on one idea for too long. We had several different chord progressions, bass lines. We varied between our drum grooves whilst maintaining the quarter note accents. The bass line was truly supportive of the different chord progressions and everything like that. We didn't have a lot of variation there. A lot of the variation came not just from the guitar leads and the chord progressions there, but also from the woodwinds and the brass parts that sort of were interspersed throughout, as well as the strings. You know, I'd say like a dozen different instruments in there with lots of different voices in there. They never strayed too far from the chord progressions or colorations of the mix. I think we did have tonal shifts in there in regards to like the emotional capacity of it. Sometimes there was a little more somber with some more sort of like gentle performances there. Other times it was more bombastic with staccato parts for tension, or we just got really loud, especially when the choirs came in there, just to kind of add a bit of mid-range kind of humanity to the recording. There was never any filler, which is incredible because this is a 4-minute 40 track, and you know, especially with instrumentals, there's always a risk that you can just have like a little bit too little to really kind of carry it over that much. But the transitions between the individual parts of the track here, as well as the reiterations, returns to the main themes, were smooth, and there were no awkward phrasings, even if there were some there weren't necessarily semitonal chromatic parts as well. I think we stayed within the key signatures and parts we went to. We didn't have any sort of like wild sort of like parallels or anything like that. There might have been some semitonal runs, but like they were occasional. A little bit of playing around with the pentatonic and blues scales within the lead solos and everything like that. Great voicings on the lead, by the way. They sounded just like a voice that's replacing what I think because of how well the lead voicings were done with the various sort of like woodwind and you know, string parts. I don't necessarily think vocals would have helped us here. I just think it's a brilliant combination of different ingredients here, and I think that Omar should be proud of themselves. I don't really see any weak points with this track, aside from the fact that if you didn't know that this was, like if someone gave this song to you without telling you the title, I don't know if you'd be able to tell what it was about. And that's just the problem with instrumentals sometimes, is that they're very open to interpretation. I'm not sure he could have done to have gotten around this. You know, despite the fact that I understand that we have the title and we have the in the album art and everything like that, it's not a single out, it's not too ambiguous. You know, there's not a lot of ambivalence in that regard. Although I'm not really sure what the Dragonfly is about, but that's okay. Like, maybe that's like a thing for the branding of Omar with his music. At the end of the day, I believe the sentiment and the care for women is there, and I'm not sure how much of this is recorded versus how much was sampled, because like you need a pretty big group of musicians to be able to play each of these instruments to the level that they were, you know. There were some fairly technical lead melodies and parts on some of those string and woodwind bits, and being able to play those is not easy at all, you know, from experience, so well done to them on that. But yeah, the theme itself did sound as if it was advocating for women's rights and everything like that, so that's wonderful. There was passion and grit behind it, with a little bit of trepidation occasionally, but things came out bigger in the end and better, and so I'm happy for that. The studio production, recording, mixing, and mastering was solid. I think that everything was nicely recorded, filtered, and EQ'd. It was nice and wide in the stereo field, with lots of little elements kind of pitter-pattering all around the left and right sides of the headphones through the center. There were no weird resonant frequencies in the frequency spectrum. It was nice and loud without pumping. The mixing of the track and the leveling is great as well. It did sound like a live performance, which I think it was fantastic, because that's kind of what you need with this genre of music, this kind of symphonic classical stuff. You need it to sound like it wasn't just done in a DAW with like samples. Even if it was, you need it to sound like it was a big kind of moving kind of titan of a composition, and we had that here. So kudos on that, because this is effectively my review of Woman, the instrumental from Omar Bowing, or Bowing. Hopefully one of those is correct, and hopefully you enjoyed this track. If you did, please do go check out Omar's various social medias and a YouTube page, and stay cool, stay safe, and please remember to support your local musicians and artists at this point in time, as you hit the hell more than ever with all the crazy stuff going on in the world, and I will catch you in the next review. Spiderhands out.